swap over. Oh, here we go. Let me unmute this real quick.
Got chat for is make sure that the volume is good. I think it is. But yes. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing great.
Is that
Thank
volume
you.
okay?
So happy to be here. I've got my
Cool.
Benrique t-shirt on. You can't see it, but I did tweet it out just to let you know I'm a big fan.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm a big fan as well. And I just want to say, from me and behalf of the PvP community, really, really happy that you're here and you have an opportunity to sit down, or we have an opportunity to kind of sit down
volume okay?
and ask you some questions.
If it's
I'm
pretty
really
loud, that's
excited
good. I want to
about
be able to hear it. I
so
want you guys to be able to hear it.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean, we can kind of just jump into it. We got about an hour here. And also, before we start this, I just want to give a shout out to the PvP with the devs that's happening right after this. So if you guys haven't downloaded the PTR, you should go do that. But yes, the first thing, I mean, kind of the major change or not change, but one of the major updates, I guess we're getting in 9.1 is kind of an overhaul of the PvP talents. And this is something that hasn't happened in a while, like little tweaks here and there, but this is like quite a significant overhaul. And I wanted to ask if you guys had any like specific theme in mind or like a goal when updating these talents. Was there any like specific goal you guys had?
Game sound.
Yeah, for sure. There were a couple goals, right? Like when we added PvP talents back in Legion, and the story there was a bit of like, there were a lot of buttons in the game and we wanted to reduce them, but there was a lot of things that were really important to PvP. There was a lot of like mechanics that were worked well in PvP but not necessarily in PvE, and we felt like those
that might still be loud, huh?
Place to live.
Okay.
We were also building a progression system at the time. But in general, we feel like there are like PvP is a very different game from PvE in the sense that there are things that matter a lot more in terms of positioning, area denial, like counterplay of certain buffs, debuffs, that there's a cool design space there that we can work with PvP talents, that, you know, we can kind of seclude from the rest of the game, so we don't have to, we can go wild a little bit in the PvP design space.
Gonna kill these?
PvP talent design space.
No.
And so our goal here was to kind of freshen that up, because as you know, in PvP, in Arena, in order for the game to feel fresh, like the meta has to change pretty importantly, and in order for that to happen, classes have to change to some degree. And that happens like on an expansion flip. 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, they come out, and we had covenant abilities, we had soul binds, Azerite traits go away, essences go away, all those things. Then all of a sudden the meta is very different, like an expansion launch. So things feel fresh for a while. It feels like we got to figure out what's strong, what's not strong. We got to play around it, and so that feels like fresh content for like the arena player, and even in some ways for the battleground
good kitty.
But now we come to like a .1 patch, and that
I mean, I can talk in general. What's up?
Like that amount of radical change that you see in expansion is its own.
I am kind of listening though.
And so we feel like this is a good time to now circle back and do a big PvP talent change. And we have a couple, goals there. We, for one thing, we want to kind of just change things up and make people have new toys, new pieces of the puzzle, meta puzzle to kind of figure out. But also it's a chance for us to like, this system is a system that choice is an important part. I mean, I often see people say like, give me a fourth slot, right?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Part of this is we want 3 slots, right? We want these choices to be important. Adding 3 more buttons to your bar can be a lot of headspace for people, take up a lot of brain space for people. And so we want those choices to be compelling. And so we want to address
I still think that maybe just one more.
Mandatory.
Just one more would be good, right? Just one more.
Too well, and we need to figure out a better way to handle it. So that's kind of what our goal was to
be nice,
to shake things up a bit, provide new abilities, new spells, new content, essentially for like your arena or battleground player, and to try to address issues as much as we could, like balance issues as much as we could.
I like that. I like the idea that there's not like a single honor talent that is like you're going to be locking in every single time. And honestly, looking at the PvP talents, it feels like 9.1 could be like more meta defining and change things up even more than like going into Shadowlands.
Fury time. That's what
I'm really excited about.
That's what's gonna change the meta.
Yeah, I mean, and for what it's worth,
Fury's back.
If this was I know sometimes people
It's
are like,
on.
what does PvP get? And it's tough when you look in the lens of a class, and there are 12 classes, there are 36 specs, and if you
I don't think I have this
primarily
quest
focus
yet.
on
Do I?
one
What
of
is this
those,
thing?
you may feel like this one spec didn't get that much, but you have to think of like the amount of work we do kind of gets multiplied by 12 or 36.
Is that?
We put a lot of time and effort into.
Is that a quest? I don't have that yet.
And refreshing them. You know, a significant number of people were working on them over the last patch cycle, so it is. I'm glad to hear that it feels like, yeah, this is going to be. You know,
I don't have
a
that
radical
yet.
change.
Fury Curie, yeah.
And the game will feel different.
Be pumper.
Because that was certainly one of the things we were going for.
Cool. Yeah. Also, one of the, just to kind of finish up with PvP talents, another theme that I kind of noticed was a lot of healing reduction was added. We even saw like, healing reduction for some healers. I believe druids with their cyclone, they have a way to reduce healing, and shamans with their unleash shield. So, I'm pretty sure like almost. I don't want to say all specs, but a significant number of specs actually have healing reduction now.
Healing reduction on cyclone
was kind of
crazy.
The purpose or the goal of adding that?
Yeah, I think.
No, you'll be okay with now Kyrian, but Kyrian's gonna be good.
Make the game more offensive
for sure.
and less defensive. I think in general the game
I like that.
plays better.
I like the offensive
I would
gameplay.
say in general, games play better.
I like that.
When offensive strategies
I like
are
that a lot.
dominant strategies.
Oh yeah.
When people, you know, like people with more aggression, and at times, you know, healing can be too strong. Like we want a world where, you know, you're in a 3v3 and the healer, he or she is kind of playing goaltender almost, right, against the other team, like trying to stop kill windows and whatnot. But over time, they wear down, and that's kind of what these are built. A lot of these talents are built towards. It's just
can be tough on healers though, for sure.
The pressure on healers a little bit. And
healing is already really hard, but
you know, increasing the effect of sustained damage on
but
them.
That'll feel
so
fun
that
though.
They feel like you know, people are going to die in a pretty good amount of time.
Cool.
I would say, you know, our
I like
targets,
fast pace. That's good.
Our
I like
rough
that.
targets for an arena match, like
It'd be nice.
would be somewhere in the 3 to 7, you know, range, 3 to 7 minute range. And we see that generally, you know, in lower.
Probably not
range,
eating
things,
50,000 calories a day. Probably not doing it.
Or even quite honestly as high as 2,200.
That's Samson.
2,400.
They're meowing
The
them.
games are not super long. I know we all watch esports, and we see the AWC, and we see the very best players in the world who are very good at shutting each other down, and sometimes those matches can go a bit longer. But generally, you know, we shoot for
Sam.
somewhere in this 3 to 5 minutes. So
He's fine. He's
this is
fine.
kind of an effort towards that.
Okay. Cool. I definitely have a few more questions about those topics in a little bit.
Keep going.
Okay, we can actually just dive into that right now if you want. So,
whatever.
No, let's do that. We might as well while we're on the topic. So I have one of the things. So I sent out a tweet. I'm sure you saw it, asking kind of the community the things that they wanted to discuss and talk about, and kind of on the topic of healing. In Shadowlands, off healing seems like it's the highest it's really ever been. So, you know, there's a few outliers. Actually, there's quite a few outliers. Like Word of Glory example for Retribution Paladins. I don't want a Retribution Paladins or hybrids to think I'm picking on them because, you know, may just have like Triune Berry, which is also really, really good. But there's a lot of heals in the game that can bring someone from basically like 20% to 100% really rapidly, and in a lot of cases they don't have a large cost on them, and things like this can really act to like kind of prolong the game. Is there any thoughts about kind of looking at some of those things, like these defensive abilities and heals that can quickly turn around a game from non-healing classes?
Yes, I think there's a bit of a balance that we have to align. We have to toe of like one off healing, feeling.
We're kind of pumping these dungeons now. We're kind of pumping,
teammates, right? And two, if like a hybrid spec relies on those healing spells as part of their defense. Those are some things to keep in mind.
Oh my gosh.
But, yeah, certainly acknowledge that, like.
I just can't look in chat and just see you just talking about just random stuff, man. I can't do it, dude.
Healer, and
I can't do it.
Off, you know, the DPS yes, if you don't have crouch
I can't
control,
do it, man.
It starts bombing some huge heals that
Cannot.
shuts the whole
Just talking in
window
chat,
down,
just
like,
talking about just the most
that's a
random
problem.
stuff.
So yeah, I think
can't
we are
do
gonna
it.
look at that over the next few weeks. We talked about off healing, and we just ran it in. So yep, that is definitely something we're looking at, and definitely something we're concerned about. I think in general, like I said,
Let's kill the healer.
and I just say it to the team all the time, like, people gotta die.
Yeah.
Yep. They do.
People gotta die in Arena, people gotta die in BGs.
Yes,
we
they
would
do.
rather be in a world that's too lethal than not lethal enough. So
yes.
yep, we're gonna continue to keep trying to drive the game towards lethality and towards people dying. So
yes.
You know,
sounds good, dude. Sounds good.
On hybrids, all that is something we're gonna look at.
Cool. I'm really excited to hear that. And kind of on that topic, once again,
if you come in the chat,
we're
please try to
this,
contribute to the chat in a way that's like somewhat related to what we're talking
another
about.
kind of thing, we
saw,
I believe we started
random.
Battle
It's just
for
like,
Azeroth,
it's so weird.
primarily, and then it's happened in Shadowlands quite a bit as well. Is like the idea of these really low risk, high reward payoffs. So a lot of like passive defensive cooldowns that come in the form of conduits. Or they come in the form of your Covenant abilities or Covenant traits, and these things that can keep you alive. And I think the reason people get frustrated by them is because there's essentially no counterplay to them. So like when you are going for those kill windows, you are going for those burst windows, you'll see a druid just automatically use frenzied regeneration, and the healing is really powerful for things like that and frictionless coding. And in 9.1, they're actually, it seems like
we're listening to it.
More of these are being added. Do you feel like the addition of even more of these is going to kind of undermine the goal of the games being faster?
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about that. And I think I should also address for the hybrid healing, and for this problem that you're talking about now, we will mostly lean on multing them down, so, making PvP specific reductions to them.
Okay.
That really only apply in PvP. And yeah, we're going to do a pass on that. We're kind of in the stage right now where we're kind of shifting our attention more towards tuning. As the tuning is things we can do.
I was hoping that I had enough hit. I think I'm not really seeing myself miss any attacks.
That is.
So things are getting dodged. That's not hit. So I think we're fine.
That was the one I know that was, really strengthened up mage barriers. This past season. But yeah, a lot of the soul binds. It was easier in DFA because we had this kind of whole tier of passive healing traits, and so it was very easy for us to like blanket say,
I think that's
hey, all of these traits are reduced by like 75%
or something,
because we just want the damage to go up. And I feel like even
so.
though it wasn't well spelled out in game, like,
exclamation mark TBC will link you that.
Knowledge that in general this tier is reduced in PvP was good, and a lot easier. It's harder with the soul binds because now we're talking about and even some conduits or some legendaries, because there's a little bit of cherry.
I think I like this dungeon better than the pins. I don't know. Did a questing break? Yeah, we're doing some dungeons to start off our Zanger Marsh experience.
We'll be talking about.
Kind of like these dungeons. I don't know. I think our tank is doing a good job, like being deliberate about the pulls and not going too crazy and just kind of taking one pack at a time.
Cool. I mean, that all sounds awesome. So.
Single pull and cleave.
For talking to us about that one, and I'm definitely. I know you've done it in the past where you multiply the ones that are the particular offenders down. So I think that could definitely help. But the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is probably the number one request, was gearing, and actually. Gearing,
for me, the main thing I really put on here about
Shadowlands,
I don't understand
Shadowlands, there was a lot of improvements.
Very curious.
In my mind over Battle for Azeroth.
What that's
about. So the fact that the honor vendor came in, as well as the
I like.
conquest
There's a lot of really good things about
PvPers control over the gear that
I'm pretty happy about it, but
I feel like for the most part, at least at the beginning of the expansion, that worked out really well. Were you guys happy with how it ended up doing?
Yeah, I think, and
I like it.
As this conversation goes, I would say, yeah, I think the current solution works really well for the start of the season when everybody is kind of growing at the same rate, right? Like everybody's getting their conquest gear, kind of.
I just think it was a little slow. How fast you acquire is a little slow.
Each week, and you know, upgrading them, that power differential is not so significant. And so yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I think, as we discuss the downsides of the current system, like I think one thing we always want to reinforce is that, you know, PvP is not an island, right? Like it's a part of the broader RPG that is World of Warcraft. And
making
as
some
such,
moves.
You know, when we design a gearing system for PvP, we also have to keep in mind what is going on for the rest of the game. Create things, you know, that attract players to PvP that aren't, where PvP isn't necessarily.
That Mortal Strike just gets them going every time.
Primary focus.
Wow. Okay.
But you know, offer some things that seem attractive to them.
Yep. That's important
so yeah,
for PvP.
I think we
gotta incentivize it for peeps.
Something that has a lot of potential.
I like the PvP gearing the way it is, but if it makes it a little bit easier for people to get gear who want it, like in terms of get it more quickly, it's good.
Vendor or the conquest vendor.
That's good.
And then kind of, you know, queuing up for a battleground or arena, getting their points, buying their gear, you know, going to the vendor, shift clicking on all of it to see what the set looks like.
Nice.
Those are all things I remember doing for a long time.
Big
I'm glad that we returned to it.
Great.
Big Nick.
I'm just making sure. Just gonna turn you
cool.
up a little bit. It's all good.
Cool.
But yeah, I 100%
feel easy to
agree.
gear a character in the middle of the season.
Vendor has been
pretty
really,
impossible.
Really great.
I think
so
it's okay
far,
to get gear, but if you're new, it
like
can be
you
frustrating.
At the start of the expansion,
I think
really,
that they
really
should
good.
just add a
like,
bonus
basically
multiplier for like extra honor, extra conquest
gear
at this
until
point.
like you were capped on renown, and then as you slowly gained renowned over like the weeks and
like
months,
a catch
you were
up
able
for
to
conquest,
upgrade
something like that would be good.
Slowly, and it was a very gradual process, and it felt very fluid. But I think that the big difficulty players have is once people are geared, if you're like a new player coming into PvP,
I don't think I'm real neat
that's
on
when,
that, but we can get
this
another one later
kind of
if we want to and get the rogue version, I guess.
You have to get your honor gear and rank it up, you know, 7 times, which is quite a bit of honor, and get your conquest gear and use honor to upgrade that.
That's a good system. It just
people
really
are kind of wondering if there's any intention or thought about adding like more catch-up to gearing later on in the season. So like if you are someone who's playing alt or you're coming into the season a little bit later, you could catch up your gear a bit faster and be on more of an even playing field.
Yeah, so some things to think about there I want to put out there. So one, like I totally agree.
Oh man, there's so many guys trying to fear right here.
You know, if you're someone coming in the middle season, or even like let's say this point of the season, and you're like butting up against the next rating tier, it can feel difficult to, you know, beat that team who is fully decked out in conquest gear that has been upgraded.
We're nuts on the kicks.
Levels higher than you. That can be a significant like thing to overcome. However, I do think there's value in this item level chase, like this idea.
There is. It's just a little slow. Absolutely value in that. Yeah. Super cool. It's just I think the pacing is a little slow. It takes a little long to try to get up there.
So we like that idea, but acknowledge that like, yeah, mid to late season, it's really tough as an alt to try and overcome that gap. And that's a problem. Since I think that's primarily a mid-season, late-season problem, we weren't able to prioritize addressing it right for 9.1 launch, but it's going to be a goal for us in the mid-patch, like a 9.15 patch or something.
All right, that'd be cool.
And our initial thoughts are to do more tiers, kind of more steps, because as I said, I think 6 item levels should be a lot to overcome, but perhaps 3 is not so bad.
Okay.
So if the upgrade tiers were more along the lines of 3, and perhaps the honor was adjusted accordingly.
Okay.
The honor 2 upgrade was adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, I don't know about yeah, I don't know.
Grind.
Wait, that's weird.
You know,
thank goodness.
Then it would hurt a little bit less. But yeah, like early season, I got.
You couldn't break that fear.
That guy's got 2 pieces of conquest gear. I've got 2 pieces of conquest gear. It's 6 item levels higher. I don't think those 2 pieces are, you know, super make or break. Yeah, they have an advantage. That's part of it. That's part of the RPG PvP that we're playing here.
I like that.
But
I like a gear advantage.
I don't necessarily think like at 3 item levels that later in the season that would be too hard to overcome. Now, in terms of just rates of like conquest acquisition and honor acquisition,
well managed.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to look at.
That's what fun the healing doing. Healing's
on one hand,
hard job.
Like the fact that the cap. I mean, you remember the days when there was no catch-up cap, right? Remember, it used to just be like you're earning 2,000 conquest a week, and that's it. You know, you miss a week, you're kind of hosed. And it can be pretty nice to just have this gigantic conquest bar that you can work through right now and gain that gear pretty quickly. But I understand that, like, yeah, you feel like you're at a competitive disadvantage. We'll look at that. We're exploring some ideas about like a little bit of an amp for your conquest earned.
That'd be good.
I think
That'd be good.
I would never want to make it such that, oh hey, instead of having to earn 27,000 conquest, you only have to earn 13,000 conquest, you know, to outfit yourself. I just think that isn't. Well,
the rate of acquisition should just be a little faster. That's all.
We could find some ways to get you started a little easier later in the season.
Just the rate of acquisition. Again, so you still have to do all the games, you know. But
I don't think it's, you know.
I mean, I think what he just said is almost the same thing, though. Like having to earn, like doing instead of doing however many arena games, you have to do about half as many. But whatever.
I think it's still important for players to feel like they have to earn the gear on the characters, and those characters progress and become more powerful from playing the game. Like it's just kind of one of the underpinnings of playing a game like this.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. I remember the early days where, you know, if you fell behind, you basically had to go through the subsequent weeks to catch up. But I also remember the days of I think it was the Warlords, where there was like there was ways to get conquest quicker, like tokens you could buy from players on the auction house, stuff like that. So if you were really behind, you could put resources into that. And I wonder if almost something like a bonus conquest weekend or something like that, like similar to How Do We See to Honor, could help on like those
bonus
long
conquest weekend would be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Big arena weekend. Oh yeah.
Some good ideas. And once again, I think we can do that some sort of thing more in like a 9.1.5 than 9.1, because I think the problem will be more prevalent at that point than it is like, you know, when 9.1 launches. I don't think anyone's going to have this concern so much.
Yeah.
It's just a very big concern, like in this last month or two.
I think so.
Been intended that
some of these fears you just can't break.
Yeah. I think a lot of the kind of frustrations around gearing kind of stem from people just getting into it as well, and how big of a difference in your power there is. So if you're, you know, someone who's just starting out, let's say you got your full honor set, you're, you know, 197, maybe a little bit higher from your legendary, and you jump into arenas and you're kind of trying to climb to that first hurdle, that 1400, you can find yourself in situations where you're playing against, you know, players that maybe got their gear from rated battlegrounds and they're, you know, full 227. And in situations like that, I mean, you know, a couple item levels isn't that big of a deal, but when it's like, you know, 30 plus item level difference, it almost feels insurmountable.
And it's okay if you're way out geared early on.
I looked into that problem a good.
That's okay if you're out geared. You just don't want to be like stuck there forever, you know.
So
that's all.
Kind of investigate like how often was this happening, like how often were the people with higher gear coming down into these lower brackets, and you know, it definitely seems that especially particularly in 2v2, our MMR distribution this season was definitely skewed more towards you know, sub 1500 ratings than we normally are used to.
Interesting.
This is something we're investigating. It was largely driven by just the number of matches.
People just wanted to play,
which was very high, like historically high.
Yeah, and they nerfed it more.
Motivated by the rewards.
Yeah, that's really good to do. Motivate people with good gear, and they've won a Q arena. That's awesome.
Were very attractive people.
Really good, really good.
Way to get some gear, and so a lot of people are participating. So what, you know, like kind of when you're saying that there are people who are in this bracket of 1400 at high gear, that was just a general issue that we saw.
Okay.
And especially for 2v2 and 3v3.
Interesting.
And so we're, you know, as we go from one season to the other season, we renormalize the MMR curve, which is, I know it sounds very jargony, but
well, we need to know what happens in MMR this season.
Roll over, we shift our MMR curve back, so people's MMR gets adjusted just so that it's kind of fitting the curve as it should be. So next season we should see a better distribution.
I really hope we talk about that. That's like the one thing in my mind.
Where, like, it feels like people at 1400 are really better than they have been in the past. That hopefully will be addressed. But yeah, I understand. Like I said, I think there's our plan mid-season to, you know, make this jump from one tier to the other a little less challenging should hopefully address the problem.
Right.
And then the other thing is, yeah, finding ways to have a little bit of conquest catch up that feels good naturally. I just don't, like I said, once again, broader landscape of the game, want to ensure that we don't, you know, turn the right way for everybody to gear to do RBGs on RBG weekends, and you know, otherwise all activities are a waste of time.
Yep, that makes sense. Maybe the addition of like the item level scaling will kind of help fix that problem as well.
You mean the PvP item level?
Yeah, PvP item level scaling. That's being added in 9.1.
Well, I just keep saying the word scaling, and I
sorry, I know.
It's a sensitive word.
Yeah, okay. Well, I won't bring it up again.
That's
but
fine.
We aren't adding any item.
There's item level scaling. They're not hidden.
We're just there's PvP item level on the PvP gear.
Very sensitive topic.
The item level on the PvP gear. I just want to make sure that's clear.
That's
yes.
funny.
I know people, the word scaling has, like, you know, upset people.
I understand. All right, so we're actually flying through this, so flying through time, so I kind of want to address some of these other issues, yes. All right, so the next thing I wanted to ask you about was solo queue and LFG, but we can start with solo queue. This is something, you know, there was a big movement within the community talking about it. They wanted it, or a lot of players wanted it, and we didn't really, I don't believe we heard anything back official on the topic, and I was wondering, is this something you guys are still debating, like is it being worked on, or is it something that is not really being considered?
Said no.
I would say, so a couple things. One, I've talked about in a previous interview that was referenced by Stoop's video that was very popular months ago. My interview with Josh, actually. And I talked about like the challenges that we have with solo queue arena. So the one that really concerns us most is, like, there are two rogues. They both queue up, and, you know, give me a terrible rogue comp.
A terrible rogue comp. Rogue.
Warrior.
I don't know. Guardian druid.
Okay, yeah. So one guy gets or gal gets rogue guardian druid.
Oh, okay. I understand.
And the other one gets RMP, right?
Okay,
and they're both equal rating, and then all of a sudden you're saying, like, well, you know, this sucks because this wasn't really a true test of our skill. It was, you know, the matchmakers, you know, screwing up and hosing me. And so that's very different from a game like, you know, Heroes of the Storm or Overwatch, where you can, like, change heroes on the fly or make adjustments as you as a player. But in World of Warcraft,
that's true.
Pick your character. That character has a lot of natural synergies with other classes and specs. And so that can be a problem. It can be a problem that you know, I'm very worried about. And then players, like, we can do our best to, you know, try to pick good comps for everybody. But you know, especially as you get up in higher ratings, there are less people. That's just the natural part of how these systems work. And so the choices that the matchmaker will have to be made, plus trying to get you in a game quickly, there's a challenge there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one concern that if we come up with a rated solo queue system, I feel like we have to overcome that. I would say we're thinking about it. We have some ideas. I'm being rather non-committal here, but if we do have something, you know, there's some ideas, like we'd like to try out an overhaul system to kind of play out and see, you know,
Cool.
how the format works.
Gank me,
so
boy.
those are some things we're talking about. But if we were to do something like this, you'd probably see it as a brawl first.
Yeah.
Before you would see us like adding it full on into the game, because when we add a new format into the game, like it's there, you know, it's
gotta
gonna be
dodge
there for
you.
a long time.
Yep.
So we're trying to take our time and do something like right here, because you know, I get the complaint. I get that the idea is like, hey, I want to just play some arenas. I like arenas. It's a fun format.
Got the chess piece,
right
nice.
now, you know, playing Skirmish isn't as rewarding for one reason or another, and so that doesn't feel like an option for me. So I think there's the main problem here is I want to get into arenas.
I need to ask why the
faster than
MMR
I'm
was
getting
nerfed
into arenas
mid-season.
now. And you know, our hope is by looking at the LFG tool, talking about some of the problems there, which I know you were about to bring up. You know, we can hopefully get players into matches quicker, doing things like you know, trying to
again. 1 second.
find ways to let players browse groups.
I think this won't mess up my window, will it? If I do this?
Trying to do things like
Does it mess up the
show
window for you
ratings
guys?
more
No, good.
explicitly. There are improvements we can make there. I can't promise you when those are going to come out, because everything is prioritized against each other, but those are like improving the LFG tool. I think can go a long way to helping this problem, and then hopefully, you know, you can make important social bonds. You can play with your friends.
Yeah, I like that dungeon just fine. That's a fun one.
And that is kind of one of the benefits of, you know, pre-mades fighting against pre-mades, is people finding each other, you know, creating sticky relationships, and then
all right, let's go.
You know, coming back to each other whenever they want to play the next time.
Okay.
So that's it. But I mean, that's hopefully not too much news. But we're certainly genuinely not dismissing the problem, and genuinely looking for solutions to this issue.
I just wanted to quickly quickly touch on a few things you said. So for solo queue, I've heard the idea of, yeah, sometimes you'll get bad comps, and, you know, a particular match won't be favored to you, but, you know, the player that's consistent over time, because roughly speaking, you know, you should have as many good matchups as bad matchups, or at least kind of equal to other players, so you'll still end up seeing players go up in rating. So that's kind of the argument that I've heard. And then, yeah, I think for the LFG system, the biggest thing you kind of mentioned was being able to do other things while you're listed, including searching for people, because you'll run into situations where, like, maybe there's a rogue, he wants to play some twos, and he signs up looking for a mage. And then at the same time, a mage signs up, he's looking to play twos, and he's looking for a rogue, and they're both kind of just sitting in limbo where they can't find each other, because both of them are listed.
That's like a good thing to think about.
That makes sense. That seems like
they could fix that with something other than solo queue, but
I feel like the existing LG's built that way primarily for flow reasons, and you know, like in terms of
that'd be interesting though.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fine
interesting
case that's being problematic.
Interesting.
That, we should take a look at. And,
how's that rep looking?
I know there's a number.
Too bad.
This is a game-wide problem. I mean, the group finder, I don't think it's exclusive to PvP.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Who are like, hey, I want improvements to the group finder, and we acknowledge that. The other, you know, it's a very, very small thing, but I would love.
I think I should be using my demo shot on these guys. I don't think he's doing it. I can do that for him.
To the repeatable version of Skirmish.
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily expect gladiators to like start queuing Skirmish or anything, but I think for the player who is, you know, just likes grinding Conquest and doesn't necessarily
could add a small Conquest reward to it.
For an LFG, you know,
could.
You can hopefully queue some Skirmish and slowly grind out Conquest for the week or something, or at least, you know, make some headway on your head Conquest cap.
And
you know, you'll get some of that experience. I think it will be interesting to see how that plays out for some people. If they're just like, no, it was fine. You know, I got all these matches, and sometimes there was wacky comps, and it wasn't a problem for me. But
could be kind of fun.
And to your point about, like, you know, over number
definitely bump up the amount
matches,
you get from
like,
normal arenas, though.
Even out.
Winning like 40 games for one piece of twos is like,
It's been my experience
that's a lot of games from one piece.
Applying large numbers to an individual player's experience and saying, yeah, I know you didn't have a good roll of the dice, for your comps, but like this other guy over here got lucky, so it all works out. Hasn't really hasn't played out.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And yeah, I mean, I think
gotta talk about the MMR thing.
Yeah, the conquest.
I'm very curious why.
Is nice
what's
too,
the thought process behind it? Because I can't think of it. And it's really damaging, so I gotta figure that out.
This is just a super fast one because people ask.
Yeah,
well, not entirely. This is a lightning round, just like a middle of the interview lightning round. Cross-faction queues, ever a possibility. I think the reason people ask this is they just want like more of a player pool to be able to find partners.
Yeah, I understand that. I think you just, a lot of times too, maybe your friend is just on the other side and he's online.
I wouldn't really be against that for Arena.
Yeah.
And then,
but
so
I doubt it.
We have constant balance there.
That's because faction is kind of a big deal in WoW.
Preserving this like alliance board faction divide. So yeah, I think it's not just a PvP decision. I think that's a game-wide decision. I know it's been talked about in past interviews. So I don't have anything really to add to that.
Okay.
Today, other than just glancing at the top of the ladder, it feels like it's not all one color right now.
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
Nice. So I think that's at least an improvement over where we have been in previous games.
Yeah, no, there's a pretty even
split
at the top. There's no doubt about it. I think, yeah, like I said, the only reason people ask is they just want more people to queue with. But obviously, at this point, it's a hard sell with the Horde and the Alliance. But yeah, the next thing I want to talk to you about was rewards in brackets outside of 3v3. So for a long period of time, 3v3 has kind of been like the the most prestigious of all the things you can queue for rated content.
Leather.
And things like 2v2, it had like the rank 1 title removed from it, and then RBGs, they don't really. They do have some rewards, but they're not necessarily
here's where Enrage
unique
would be
rewards.
good.
Has there been any thought to maybe adding more reasons for people to queue these other brackets and really care about pushing and rating in them?
Yeah. So a couple things. One, 2v2, very popular. Most popular.
Yes,
bracket,
adding some
by far.
rewards from those brackets could be cool.
I think some people really enjoy it.
The gear stuff was like really good though.
Highest level of competition. I would not want to add like named Gladiator to that bracket.
Yeah, no.
But I think it could get its own. It just hasn't been a priority for us to come up with like a top of the ladder 2v2 reward. But,
okay. Could be kind of cool though. But I think the fact that gear is so valuable and you can get it from twos is really good.
Like,
so.
Gear is something that benefits how many people.
Yeah, gear.
It hasn't been a priority for us. But yeah, it's totally worthwhile. I just would not want to use named Gladiator for them.
Okay.
RBGs, I this may spook some fan of RBGs. First of all, I love Rated Battlegrounds. Some of my fondest memories playing Rated Battlegrounds with the group.
I'm getting kind of pumped. It's this thing.
Into YOLO RPG groups just to play some RPGs that are a little bit more serious than random battlegrounds. So I really love the format. I feel like we can do better than what we have now. Like pre-made 10-man group queuing and lining up against another 10-man group and playing a 15 to 20 minute match. That has proven to be a very tough system to get high participation in.
Yeah, solo queue would be fine in RBGs, I think. That'd be really good. That's where it'd be good. 6v6 solo queue.
Okay.
Because
that'd be a great place to do it. I've said that a couple times before. I've said it a lot before.
Low levels, may go on for like most 3 to 5 minutes. Take your 10v10, and it goes. You take 10 people out of the pool, and they go for 15-20 minutes. There's just a huge order of magnitude less matches in 10v10.
Yeah.
And so it's been a problem, and I don't necessarily
smaller scale solo queue,
the thing that will really help
or just smaller scale at all.
Some rewards.
They've tried it too with like the Deep 6 Brawl. That's like basically testing. Could be cool.
More participation.
Could be really cool.
I don't really think.
Taking on arms? Nope. I'm just DPSing.
Ultimately, what is proven
DPSing
to increase the number of people doing RBGs is if RBGs are a very efficient and effective way to earn conquest and conquest gear and honor. So that is
gotta figure out what to chuck out of my inventory.
But I feel like, you know, the thing I think the crowd we're not servicing is the people who want to do battlegrounds. They like battlegrounds. They've moved on from random battlegrounds, but finding a 10-man group is hard for them.
Maybe just chuck this thing.
And so I think we can do better, and that's kind of what our eyes
Any
are
more
set
scrolls
on
I can get rid of?
You know, as much as saying, what if we started fresh with rated battlegrounds? What would we do?
Where'd fish oil
How would we
come
design
from?
this knowing what we know now? I know people threw out like 6v6 RBGs, like reduce the player count. We've done a lot of experiments personally with 6v6 RBGs. We've done esports events with 6v6 RBGs. Like, it needs its own content. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
Like,
Its own maps and stuff.
Yeah, like you can't, like 6v6 on like a lot of those maps is not that thrilling.
This guy's beating my ass.
So I think it needs its own format, its own game modes, and so there's a lot of content to be made there. And if we did do something like that, I would prefer we outright replace 10 to 10 with 6 than add an additional bracket. Because adding an additional bracket to our rated system is just puts more pressure on it. Which, you know, one more bucket, one less group of players in the other brackets.
Okay.
And hey, we've got to balance out like all these.
Never actually watched Fenric. Do you think he's a good voice that concerns people?
I don't think that's a great
definitely.
idea.
He's a good conduit at
really,
least. He's a high-rated player. Has been around for a long time. Has a role as a streamer. Has a role as an esports host. Has a role as a commentator. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
But I think he can do better than.
He's like a good choice for someone to interview, somebody from Blizzard, because he's like. He's very, you know, he's got, what I would say is he's got skin in the game, right? If he decides to be a goofball and ask silly questions and try to make a joke of this thing, he'll lose his job as a caster for Blizzard.
So moving on from that.
And he's just a good guy. Like, they know him and he's
some of these,
trustworthy, right?
The topics people were
So yeah,
really
he's a good guy
about,
for this, for sure.
Let's talk about the season 1 of Shadowlands. So when Shadowlands first came out, you already said it. Participation was at an all-time high, and I mean everyone that was playing felt it. Like, you were just getting instant arena games. Everybody wanted to queue up. Rated battlegrounds, 2v2, 3v3. People were reaching like MMR cap within like the first month, which I think is it's unheard of. I don't think we've ever seen that before. But as the season progressed, and especially when we got to 9.05, it felt like the activity on the ladder went down significantly, and it was harder to find games, and the queue times were longer, and it was incredibly difficult at the speaking for like the highest ratings, and even at the lowest ratings as well. It felt like it was really difficult to actually climb rating and actually.
Like, I find that whole fight with that battle shout.
Have you guys talked about like any ways you could maybe, you know, fix that, so like later on in the season there's still reasons for people to want to queue and participate?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the clearest answer here is not have the season go this long.
Okay.
We don't want this is longer than we intended for there to be, 9.0, 9.05 to 9.1. This is something we're working very hard. People are really trying to get 9.1 out as fast as possible, but I think that's an important part of it.
Right, so a long season is one thing, like, for sure. Like, a season's a little bit long, but that's even less reason to nerf MMR midway through, right? That just guarantees that the season is going to be jacked up.
The thing is, I've been here for a lot of PvP seasons, and generally, like, we see, like, every season plays out in certain phases. Like, the season launches, everybody's, like, gearing up for the first, like, 10 weeks, 12 weeks or so.
This whole stack?
And that can be all very exciting, and you're getting
sells
gear,
for
and then everybody's got their gear, and things kind of settle in to kind of this state for a while, and then end of season comes around, like the last month or so, and then it's like, okay, we've got to rally, like try to acquire, the rating you wanted for this season, and things pick up. So my expectation is that we will see things pick up here, like when we start to say, like, hey, it's getting close to the end of the season. The queues will pick up a bit, and then we'll see in the next patch that will go. I think we can be more aggressive with our inflation numbers for next season than we are right now. That might mean some higher ratings than towards the end of the season than people are accustomed to
like
seeing.
4K rated. That's fine.
But in general,
but just don't nerf it
put
mid-season.
More pressure on people to
that's like the main thing.
Play more frequently if they want to preserve their spot on the ladder. I generally don't like the idea of decay. Rating decay, I know that's been thrown around by the community a number of times.
4K CR is fine with me.
Just kind of, I don't think that's a great experience. That if a player like
just can't be nerfing it mid-season. That's all.
I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, and then they come back and they've literally lost.
The city's gotten one yet?
Because the game is like, no, I've decided to lower your rating because you know you want to preserve your sick mother or something.
Yeah.
I think a world where we reward people for playing more later in the season is better. I think, for what it's worth, inflation is too invisible. It's there, but I think this is a system we should actually make a visible mechanic in the game. And we've talked about that. You know, like it for people who aren't aware. You know, there's
fish oil
all the ratings are built around this middle ground.
I have too many bandages too.
Like you're either, you know, way better than 1500.
I need to sell this stuff too.
But 1500 is kind of the middle. And what we do is we move that middle over the course of the season. Currently at a rate of about 10 rating per week. So second week of the season, you know, first week of the season it's 1500. Second week of the season it's 1520. So you slowly move up rating over time. And so if you have a person who doesn't play, they would get bypassed. Now it's just
don't seem very good.
Probably significant enough that you know people are.
I might throw those away.
Top of the ladder, and maybe you could just be that high enough to surpass those people, and then you can adjust that.
Cool.
And so that's the plan.
More
right
room.
Now. But again, I think that is a.
Could throw these away too.
That we could make transparent to the players.
Because now I have a thrown weapon.
More akin to the old.
This is awesome.
Back in the day. So that is something we're talking about, but you know, no idea when we would get to that. But because the current system as it is, it works and it does what it is set out to do. We just tune it up a bit.
Okay. And one more thing I wanted to ask you about, you know, kind of the season length. Have we ever, like in Legion, we actually saw where there was multiple seasons.
We haven't gotten to the mid-season nerf though.
I feel like that kind of worked out great. I'm wondering why that was changed, because it seemed like it was, you know, it was nice. Like you'd have your season within a raid tier, and then it would actually reset, and you have an opportunity to kind of
that's just really a bummer to
once
me.
Again, and
it feels like it's wrecked 2 seasons now.
So 2 reasons, I think. One is something I alluded to before, the broader landscape of the game.
Maybe it'll pick up at the end of the season, it'll even out, but it seems like just such a
PvP seasons. It was just better for those to be cohesive.
Okay.
I don't know. It's such a strange thing to do, and it really like de-incentivized people to play, I feel like, for a while. And like, why is that, you know?
I don't know if you know this, but people tend to compare the gear from one source to another.
What?
And so what was happening is, you know, it's important for like, you know, last season's gear to be better than, this season's gear to be better than last season's gear. And what we kept running into with Legion was the first, you know, half of the raid tier, the first season, the gladiator, you know, highest end gladiator gear, it wasn't better than the raid gear. And then the second half of the season, it was better than the raid gear. And so there was just this constant angst about like comparing the PvP gear to the PvP gear, and the plus gear, and that was just, you know, a constant source of frustration for people. So I think I don't foresee us going back to anytime soon.
It may be a situation where Venruki already has questions that they've kind of agreed to talk about, and he can't really add new things in. And so if the MMR nerf thing wasn't on the menu, then he might not be able to bring that in. But that is a big question of mine.
Fair enough. Next kind of topic I wanted to talk about was cooldown. So just like,
because I didn't feel like that was like they talked about MMR, but not about why it was nerfed mid-season, right?
There's a lot of damage there's a lot of cooldowns that classes have, and a lot of damage modifiers that classes have. And what ends up happening is players stack things together, And I think it causes two problems. So, because defensive cooldowns are also strong, so it causes two problems. On the lower end of things,
MMOR makes it so that
player can
you're more likely to lose rating,
1 second
and
to,
like it's like really hard to gain rating.
Or a rep paladin using wings, or an elemental shaman lining up all his damage, and you can just drop someone
players,
in just,
no, it's the
a second and a half, and then players have no idea what just happened to them because the damage spikes so hard.
Rating was really, MMR was really high, so you were able to gain rating from playing at a high rating.
Players playing against each other,
or if you're a high rating,
most of your damage
when MMR is nerfed,
offensive moments,
it means that you are
doubling, tripling
high rated
damage.
And even if you win every game,
they're really good
you don't get any points, and if you lose one game, you lose 20.
And you get
that's what it means. So it's like, why would you play if that's the case?
You don't really have enough damage outside of your cooldowns to take someone down, and you're basically just waiting for that one-shot opportunity again. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the strength of cooldowns and stacking them together right now.
So the things that you're saying right now are making no sense. Maybe the ambient subjects just go too fast for him to take time and actually develop ideas. You're talking about like
in a vacuum of like
who are you talking to?
What
are you talking about?
What amount of strength does it give me? As much as possible, like we've tried to remove a lot of stacking.
Are you talking about MMR, or are you talking about like the adding questions in?
Even when we created these covenant abilities,
I think it makes sense for them to want to have some idea what's being asked, so they can have some idea what they're going to say. Yeah.
It's an issue. Generally, I would prefer.
What you said nothing to do with MMR.
Worlds where like every class.
I can be applied to the question, but
2 to 3 minute cooldown as an option. And there isn't a lot of stacking. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't think we're that far off from that right now. But there's also things like a trinket. Or
conduit,
a soul bind.
But what I'm curious about is why. Like, what's the reason for doing it? Like, what's the? Because like usually there's like a okay, that's.
And I think
I don't really like it, but at least they have a reason why they did it. And it's like I just can't even think of the reason why they would do it.
Then
it's kind of weird.
The rest of the time it feels like you're a wet noodle.
Yeah.
And we don't want that either. So yeah, it is a problem. I think the only.
I gotta go sell some stuff after this run.
The right way to do it, and being an unpruner, this doesn't make me happy, but it's to just reduce the number of those like cooldown like buttons, and that sort of thing. So the other kind of conversation we've had is like, like thinking about PvP talents that are like, your damage is increased by 10% when Avenging Wrath is
that's not a great PvP
on cooldown or whatever.
Sure, yeah. Hold on to some bandages. Sure.
The damage of outside of cooldowns explicitly. So I think those are things we're doing.
Sure.
Right now we've added some PvP mults to a lot of the like filler spells to try to buff up the sustained damage. But yeah, ultimately though, people got to die, and you have to make clips of you one-shotting somebody.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, so, you do. You really do. I'm glad that we're on board with that.
Generally, feels more exciting when they're big hits. So, just there's a spectrum of what's acceptable.
Yeah.
Scale, and then
sorry if I pulled.
Cool. I just wanted to quickly say one more thing. Something that I noticed in 9.1 is some abilities actually got buffed. So Frostbolt, for example, I'm really excited about this as a Frost Mage. I believe they.
It's my impression that they probably can't add new questions.
Shatter,
maybe
so like
is what it is.
That got tuned down, so like your shadows are a little bit less, but they buffed Frostbolt just damage in PvP. So like your filler spell Frostbolt is now going to actually feel like it's a bit more significant when you press it. Is there any thoughts to maybe doing this for a lot of the quote-unquote filler spells for classes?
So I feel like that's kind of like a issue that not only I'm concerned about, I'm curious about.
To do that. Kind of held off doing it too much, but that's something we're opening the gates on a bit here.
So much rage.
Cool.
Like it.
More of that.
All right. Well, I'm not going to complain about that. That sounds great. Can kind of double back to
Big Deeps.
Let's see here. What's another topic that we got? Well, there are two topics I would really like to make sure we got to. One is 9.1. Is it done?
All right.
I think in Poke, I don't know.
Minpoke, yeah.
I have brutal. Did I make that? It's horrible.
Not too bad. Don't worry.
He asked that question of like, should we expect more changes? I would say the state of this, it is, you probably won't see any more new PvP talents coming to 9.1, but you will see changes to the existing ones. So, you know, as a result of our playtest here in just a couple minutes, we'll be getting feedback. We'll all be playing with them. And I'm sure we'll learn a lot. And so there will be
it's best if we don't go play and one-shot people as a warrior, so warriors get nerfed, right? Even though I think that'd be kind of fun to go play with the blues. We'll just keep grinding classic, but yeah, best not to go get warriors nerfed, right?
The other big issue is mind control. The mind control bug issue. I just want to bring this up because I know it's a very hot button issue in the community.
It is.
And this feeling like, why are we ignoring this problem?
Chatting about it.
We aren't ignoring the problem. I think is what I want to stress. This is a very difficult bug for us.
Yeah, of course.
Mind control
would have been fixed if it wasn't a weird one.
It's kind of a complicated spell for the game. We've already committed a pretty significant amount of time. Very good programmers taking a look at it. We're going to continue to spend time. There are people looking at it now. It is tricky. It is tricky.
This exact moment.
Part of the problem is just reproducing it consistently internally can be a challenge. The bug is kind of caused by some combination of lag and timing mismatch between clients and servers.
Interesting.
And it's operating at the lowest level of like movement code for the game. And so I just kind of wanted to step out here and say, like,
interesting.
We know this is a problem.
Weird.
We're not happy about it. We're working very hard on it. Thank you for everybody's patience about this bug.
Interesting.
And we're working really hard to repair it, but it's proven to be very difficult to fix, to reproduce, diagnose, all those things. So.
Well, land kicks.
I have to say, appreciate you saying that. We just got out in front of that one because that's one of the things I wanted to ask you is, we got a few minutes left here, but in terms of like communication and players giving feedback, is there a place that's best? Because some people think like, oh, they only look at Twitter or they only look at
forums,
the forums, or they only look at
I like the forums,
whatever
but I
it
think
may
the
be.
forums are pretty popular.
Yeah, exactly. They only listen to streamers, but I know that's not true. Yeah, I was wondering, is there a particular place that people, you would suggest that they give feedback, or is it just kind of like a mix of everywhere?
It is a bit of a mix of everywhere. I know that may not be a satisfying answer, and a lot. There's a lot of players, and I think communicating with them.
Yeah, I was saving my cooldowns for a moment like this.
Our community team does a very good job trying to reach out to all of them and let them know that they're heard.
Now I could fear this.
But really, we pay attention to Warcraft.
I might.
The Twitter handle. We check out the forums. Our quality assurance people are always looking at the forums, especially bug reports and bringing bugs. When we get those into a system, it isn't necessarily the case that the way the team works is like go to the forums looking for bugs. Okay, that's what I'm going to work on today. I'm going to fix this bug. It's generally
put them just a teeny little intercepts done there.
Finds those bugs, enters them into our bug tracking system, and then
yeah, you can't Zerker Rage these little fears. It's weird.
So
okay.
And there are a lot of things. There's new work and new content for us to create. There's old bugs for us to fix. And
like the Vitros doesn't cost any rage. Most things just cost rage.
But really, yeah, for folks out there who want to get their voice heard, certainly
nice.
Warcraft devs, posting in our forums is always very valuable. And and as far as the streamers are concerned, or the big YouTube personalities, I think everyone who works on this game are fans of the game, and they're fans of a lot of the content creators out there. And so
gotta be nice.
People make points that really resonate with the player base. That sort of stuff gets forwarded to us a lot.
Be nice.
We always see
that's
things
the thing
that
to remember.
Really resonating with players and your fans, and so we kind of trust those as well. So, I would say the only thing that doesn't work is yelling into a pillow. Like that just. I mean, it's you, but I will never hear it.
It helps me sometimes, but
yeah, that's the only type of feedback we never see. But all these different avenues to contact us, they work. It's just
all right. Well, I didn't get. It doesn't sound like I'm gonna have my question answered, but that's okay. I didn't really submit it to the official thingy or anything, but still.
To make every single individual person feel heard, but
But I am curious still, because I don't want that to happen again. It happened in Season 1 of BFA, and it kind of made that season weird. And then it happened this Season 2. So
I speak on behalf of everyone when I say, thank you very much for coming on.
That's very nice
chatting with us.
For sure.
We are at that 1 hour mark. Sure. I was wondering, can we do like a really quick, like 1 minute kind of lightning round for some topics that I had?
Sure.
All right, so super fast.
We'll see.
PvP trinkets and trinket balance. Is this something that's being looked at all? Between badge, insignia, and emblem, I'd say emblem is the one that gets picked the most by far, and it's the defensive option.
Yeah, we don't want the defensive option to be best. So yes, we probably will look at that.
Okay.
I have my Hellstone, but
okay. Another quick question I have for you guys: is there any way we can get a list of like PvP specific changes? Because there's sometimes the spell will get changed. Example I gave you was at the start of Battle for Azeroth, the Ray of Frost and Glacial Spike had some changes on it, and I think there's other abilities like this where talents are tuned down in PvP, and there's no real way of seeing that. Is there any way we can get like an official list?
Yes. I could talk about getting that. I know that the PvP mults, I feel like we did the tech work to make them data mineable.
Easy.
To the sites. I don't know that they take advantage of that. I'd have to verify that that's true. I don't want to throw any of the data mining sites under the bus or anything. But I did try at one point. I remember trying to make the effort to make those values.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll get a tweet or two if I'm wrong and they're not filled. So that would be one thing. The other is, a lot of the tooltips update in the game. So hopefully you can see them there. But I'm not intending to just put all the work on you guys. I think we should work on some way to make it more obvious.
I think he's just trying to be careful on like what he can promise and who he is putting that work on.
Like I said,
I don't think Holinka writes patch notes. Right.
Maybe we could do this again sometime, but I just want to say thank you very much for
so he's got to be careful on what he's
taking
trying
the time
make
to
his
talk
team
with
do.
us.
I get it.
We really appreciate it. Also want to thank everyone that submitted questions for this, because I got 500 questions or something like that to ask, and this is kind of what it came down to. So thanks again. And I also just want to say, if you guys want to go check out some of the 9.1 PvP talents, this is your opportunity to give feedback on them. So you should hop on the public test realm, as we're going to be doing a play with the developers. I know I'm going to be doing it. You're going to be playing as well, right?
I will be. I'll be there.
Yeah.
What class are you playing? I have to ask.
Should I get Warrior Nerf?
On Havoc, I think, today.
Havoc Demon Hunter? All right.
Yes.
All right. Well,
I don't know if I'm going to get Warrior Nerf,
thank you very much.
I kind of want to play it,
and I'll see you in the arena.
We got some work to do in BC, I think.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job, Vin. Good job, Holinka. Way to work, guys. Good job. Oops.
Oh, there's my list. There's a few things we. Hey, what's up, everyone? How's it going?
There's
all right,
the list.
here we go. Let me move this over here, actually. All right, what up?
Well, good job, Vin.
Yeah, there's a few things we didn't get a chance to talk about. That was one of them. Yeah. So I had it on my list. I can show you some of the things that I want to talk about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Obviously, an hour goes by very fast when you're diving into some of those topics, and they are complex issues. So I don't know. I feel like that was pretty good. How do you guys feel like that went?
It's good, Vince.
Thank you guys for the subs. Appreciate that. It was great. Great interview. Was good. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome, man. And like I said, it was boring. Well, it seems like most people liked it. So.
No, it's good. It's good. All right. Good job, Vin. Good job, dude. All right. Hopefully we got down to some good stuff, some good chattings. Sounded good to me. I would like to hear the answer about the MMR thing, but all good. All good, all good. It wasn't like I didn't submit it or anything. I'm just very curious. Ours are not being taken away now. Okay. Alright. 1K gave me 10K gold at TBC. Is it too much? That's a lot of gold. That's a whole lot of gold. I have 1,000 right now. So that's a lot of gold. Yeah. Like the beard, thanks, man. That is a hefty sum of gold right there, man.